So in this video, I'm trying to answer a question that lots of parents ask me either in the comments or personally when they find out that I'm a games developer and I've been in this industry for quite a while. They ask me, so my kid is interested in animation or is interested in games. So where should I send my kids to? Art school, or should they go to maybe an online course? And if they have an online course, then is that enough? Do they need a degree from a big school in order to get into it? Now, as an experienced developer, but also a dad, I have a few ideas to share with you on what works best for your kids to hopefully live that dream of being a games developer or being an animator. So if this sounds interesting to you, join me and let's talk about it. Alright, welcome. My name is Harvey Newman. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe if this video proves useful to you. And before I get started, I need to mention that I have a couple of courses that might be useful to you depending on where you are in your journey, or even if you actually kind of want to show it to perhaps your teenagers or young adults that want to learn about games development. And my courses, there's one about motion capture for games, so you can basically hone in on working with motion capture, which is a really valuable trade as an animator in games. And then there's a second course that I just recently released about nailing your showreel, so to make sure that you build your showreel according to what studios out there, AAA studios, big studios out there are looking for. Now, if this sounds interesting to you, link in the description. Now back to the video. Now, let's start with the obvious. Art school is expensive. And when I mention art school, it means different things to different people, because it can be an art university, an art college, it can be higher education, art masters. There's a bunch of different names for different things, but the idea here is very much that you are committed to study something related to art, meaning animation or games, specific things, for a number of years. Specific industry experience is very valuable. So actually knowing if the teachers actually have a games industry experience, animation experience, because they will be able to actually warn students and tell students about what the reality of things are within the industry. And that's very important. But what you get in return after those 3 years, after that commitment, money-wise and all that stuff, is that you get a lot of structure. And structure is important because what you actually are looking for, especially when you do a bachelor's, and I ask somebody, do you have a degree? What's your degree on? It's all about those 3 years of commitment as a bachelor's. Like, you committed 3 years to doing this thing full time, and that is really important for any studio because games take a long time, and that sense of commitment helps us a lot to understand the kind of person that we're hiring. Now, there's also the element of the personality of your kid, of the person that you send into school, because it might be that your kid is really good at being in the classroom and learning, absorbing that information and thriving in that classroom. And I do know that a lot of my mates were very much that way. I was not so much that way, but if that's your kid, then 100% send them to university, because they'll be able to collaborate with others, they'll be able to actually kind of like be with others, experience different things, and that life experience is very important. But this is not the only option that you have. The second option is going to be online learning, which is absolutely everywhere now, so let's talk about that next. Now, today there's a ton of online platforms that you can learn animation, game development, design, a bunch of things, which is great. Some of the examples that I can mention here for you guys to check out. For animation, you have Animation Mentor, you have iAnimate, and then you have the School of Motion. You have for things outside of animation, CG Spectrum is really good when it comes to more generic stuff. You also have Gnomon, you have ArtStation Learning, and then YouTube. YouTube is arguably the biggest source of information that we've ever had, and you can learn about everything. And especially newer generations are used to the idea of learning through YouTube, and that can be incredibly powerful. But what you don't have with online learning is that structure that universities, art schools give you, where they have a program and you have to follow it for the whole year. in another year. And that structure is very important, because what I found by hiring a bunch of people in different studios is that sometimes people can have a lot of talent and have no structure, which means that when you put them in a structured environment like working in a big game studio, then what happens is that they crumble and they cannot cope with working with others, working in a team, asking questions, speaking with other departments. But what you get a lot with online classes is that a lot of the times the teachers are professionals in the industry. And the reason why this happens is because these teachers are doing normally these online classes and teaching as a side gig, but also for students, they get to hear and learn from somebody that is actively in the industry right now. Same thing with game developers. A lot of the time is about, but how does it work when it comes to working with this department or that department, or what is crunch? All those questions can be answered from a professional standpoint on the pros and cons of everything in the industry, and that ends up being very, very valuable. And there's nothing like, I feel, when you go to university or when you go to art class, like peer pressure to know that so-and-so that I know and I'm friends with, they are slightly ahead of me, or they are very applied, so I need to be as well. So you don't have that element of peer pressure when it comes to, like, seeing others, how they do it, make sure that you model yourself towards it, and then you do it as well, because you are just by yourself. And this one is definitely for kids that are self-motivated and can actually work well in isolation. It is normally anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 that you get to pay for about a 3 months to 6 month period of time. And that's more than enough for you to find out if this is maybe right for your kid. So now let's talk about what the games industry really cares about between these two choices. All right, so this one is important. And the reality is, I've been in the industry for a couple of decades now, and I haven't had to kind of like showcase my degree to anybody, even though I have one. What is true is that people ask you in interviews, do you have a degree? You don't have to show it, but this basically states that you have been committed to something for 3 years in a row, and that is really good, as I mentioned in the beginning, because what this means is that you have worked on something really hard. Another problem that we see as well, especially with the younger generations, is that it's very difficult for people to commit themselves to something for a very long period of time. And once again, games take anywhere from 2 to 5 years, 7 years sometimes. And it's a long period of time to commit to anything. So we need to know that whoever we hire is committed to this for the long haul. So if the work talks for itself and is really amazing, then it's all about asking the person in the interview about the commitment. But regardless, know that this is an industry that works on talent, and talent speaks louder than any degree or any commitment that you've done before. So at the end of the day, regardless of how you got your skills or your degrees, the talent is what's going to get you the job. Make sure that you get your kids to learn their software really well. Make sure that they actually get to make a show reel that really showcases their personality, their wants, their little, things that they like to do. Because in this day and age, there's a lot of repetition. And ultimately, what we're looking for in studios is uniqueness, personality, making sure that something stands out from the rest. So always make sure that you infuse the personality of your kid into that show reel, the loves, the wants, the things that they like. All of those things need to be showcased. So basically you can start to distinguish that show reel from any other one out there. And you can feel like a big fish in a small pond very easily in your course or in your university. But as much talent as you have, just know that this industry is full of talent. So, don't overwork, but work in a way that actually kind of make sure that you're always seeing things from your perspective, unique perspective, so it stands out from the rest, because nobody can be you. And therefore, if you have a show reel that basically is true to you and you're happy with it, it means that other people might see the same things and therefore hire you to work for a specific studio. Now, let's talk about choosing the right path. So the final section here, and I guess the short answer that you wanted from me, which is not really a simple answer because there's no simple answers here. And what I tell my daughter a lot of the time is that there is no specific perfect paths for you to follow. But you need to be intentional with whatever you choose to go. Because if, like in this video, I present with my daughter all the choices that exists and also what studios are looking for, it's up to my daughters to then decide which path are they going to take. Because they have to make that decision and they have to find their own path. And on top of that, there's also imposter syndrome. Everybody goes through it. It's impossible to dodge it, and everybody will feel it at some point. And especially when you start in this industry, there's always this doubt in the back of your mind of like, is this for me? Can I do this? This guy, this girl can do amazing. So can I do this? I'm not too sure. And I think that taking these decisions and making these decisions and rectifying things as they go through it is the way to go. So this is basically, I think, the pros and cons of both the more academic way of working or learning, which is very much the art schools, the degrees, the universities, the colleges, or the courses, the online schooling, the YouTubes. And this video, more than anything, is to showcase the options that you have and also what the industry is looking for and ultimately what gets you the job. And I've seen so many people in this industry getting in different paths. No degrees, just talent, lots of degrees, no talent. So there's like a bunch of different things that you can do in order to get into the industry. But the most important lesson is for you to do it in your own way, because being true to yourself is ultimately what makes you successful in this industry. Now, here are the final thoughts. Some questions that you should ask your kid right now as practical steps in order for you to find out a little bit more about the direction to take. These are the questions that I ask my daughters. So, are they self-driven or do they need structure? Those two things are very different. And if they are self-driven, I think courses and YouTube and self-education works really well. If they need structure, I do think that going more the academic side normally helps more. Now, the second question is, do they want to work in games, film? Is it 2D? Is it 3D? There's a bunch of different subsections that come after that question, because if it's games, which is my expertise here, then what do you want to do in games, right? Because there's design, there's coding, there's animation, and then within those, then there's subsections, right? If you want to be an animator, is it first person? Is it third person? There's a bunch of different things that you can do. And I think that starting with those questions helps then to them funnel exactly which specification that they want to do in any one option. And then third question and final, would they benefit from meeting other artists in person, or are they comfortable online learning for themselves and being their own person? Because I'm the kind of person that when I see somebody, a tutor or a mentor that I look up to, I get motivated. And I feel like my daughters are the same, which means that to me, at some point, doing an online course with somebody that works professionally might work better for them, because now they are learning from somebody that they look up to. And out of these three questions, I do think that there's no right answers. There's just different options. And based on those options, you can make your decisions. Now, I hope this proves useful to you and to your kids and in their journey. And I wish them all the best in their journey, because this is a wonderful industry. Animation and games is amazing. I've been here for 25 years and I still love it. And I think that anybody that comes through with the right mentality and the right attitude, loves it as well. So I do wish all the best for you and your kids, for them to actually do the best they can. And if you have any questions or need clarification on any other points that I just mentioned, drop a comment down below and let me know. And until the next video, stay well, stay safe, peace. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you super enjoyed it, leave a super thanks. It's like leaving a little tip and it directly supports the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can continue to see my videos and get your weekly dose of betterness.